my channel. I'm trying to straighten this out. Maybe that's good. Okay. So I went to today. I went to Family Dollar with my sister and my niece to pick up some like snacks and stuff like that that I can use or that we have, so we can have a good weekend. Um, and I came across these jars, and they look like this, and they were only $1, so I picked up 2 packs. It comes in a pack of 8. Yeah, comes in a pack of 8, so I got 2 packs. And I figured since I plan on doing samples, selling samples, that I would use these. So I went ahead and I started. I'm almost finished, but I started putting my some of my glosses in here. So I've got my Nubian gloss. Um, I've got my limeade, my new reformulated limeade. And then this is another new gloss that I have that's not closed all the way. This is my Angel. It's a pearl white. This is the second new color or third new color, and it is Nefertiti. And then I have my older colors. This is the Sun Kiss. This is the Sunset, and then I have my Princess, which is a clear gloss, and my Snow White, which is also clear. I've got 3 more glosses and 3 more things to go. So I am going to show you how I do that. Actually, let's put this up because I'm not going to use that. I'm going to open this one up. So like I have a designated syringe for, oh, this is not off, that's why. I have a designated syringe for each of my colors, which is why they look like this. Because even after I clean them, they still have that little stain or that tint on them left on them, which is fine. I don't care about all of that. But I do clean them, and I'm gonna put that about. I'll put about that much in there. It's not. I'm not gonna. It's not gonna take all of it, but it's gonna take a good bit of it. And then I'm gonna take. Let me see. How can I show you guys? I'll show you guys like this. So then you just let it go and push it up, and you don't want to push it all the way because once it snaps closed, the air pressure is going to come up and it's going to mess up. And I definitely learned the hard way with at least 2 of them. So like, see how the rim looks? It's because I put too much in there. So we're gonna do a little bit more if I can get it. Okay, because I have some trouble sometimes trying to get it to where it's gonna work. Okay, now take a little bit more. I'm gonna sit that like that. And that's that on that. Okay, so now this is how it would look. You don't want it, again, you don't want it to be at the top because once you snap it closed, it's gonna rise. So this is how it looks. And this is my lemonade. So the next one we're gonna do, we are going to do, I have to clean those. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do our queen bee. And again, I have recently changed the formula of the queen bee as well, so it is different. It does look a little bit darker or a little bit more pigmented than it did before, but that is fine. It's okay. Let me try to, because it's hard, and I haven't used my syringes in a while because I haven't been filling any tubes or anything because I don't have any more tubes to fill. So I have been pretty much okay, that should be good. I am gonna be talking. Um, and I have a little bit of a story time, I guess you could say. And it's about my mother. And so, just to give you guys a background on my mom was born in 1957, and she was 62 when she passed away. She she grew up in the church, and my grandparents, God rest their souls, they were trying to keep her on the straight and narrow, but there's always things to deter or not deter, distract you. I'll use that, distract you uh, from doing what God has planned for you to do once you become of age and all that good stuff. So she did leave the church pretty not really young, um, and she ventured out on her own and everything, and for about a few years before she got pregnant with my sister, she had been on drugs, and she was doing pretty bad. Not bad, I mean, but she was functioning. What what they call a functioning crackhead. That's what she was, and she went to work faithfully, and she took care of home, things like that. But see, at the time, my grandparents uh, paid all of the bills. They paid her bills. She lived rent free, and and so it was for her it was a good good thing, just so that they could kind of keep her out of trouble a little bit. So they took a lot of the weight off of her as far as money was concerned. She didn't really have to work anywhere for anyone, so she was pretty well off. And then in 1980, she met a man. Well, she didn't meet him; they were already together. But um, she had gotten pregnant in 1980, and December, and then by December she had given birth to my sister, and she did not she didn't smoke or anything. She didn't do any type of drugs while she was pregnant with her. But she was still a really tiny baby because she didn't go full term. I think she had her at 6 months, six and a half months. Um, so my sister was a very very tiny baby. She weighed 2 pounds 11 ounces, and the little slender shoe boxes. The My sister could fit in that, and she could wear like the baby doll clothes, like how they got like the baby alive and the American dolls. Like my sister would be able to fit those type of clothes. And so, um, my grandparents went ahead and they took care of my sister, and they let my mom do what she wanted to do, and so it was on and popping, and so for 16 years, my mom, it was just me, my it was just my mom, my sister, um, and my grandparents, and then in 1994 my grandmother passed away from cancer. I can't remember what cancer she had. I want to say it was breast cancer, but I'm not sure. Um, but she passed away in 1994, and that kind of got my mom spiraling out of control, so to speak. She was more so in the streets and all that type of stuff, and there was really nothing that my grandfather could really do, so he did his best. And by that time, my sister was of age. She was, on her own. She was, in private school, so it wasn't really much that she could really say. I mean, my mom still would give her money and things like that. coming, and spend time with her sometimes, and so it was a joyous type. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys. Let me push this out of the way. So I'm gonna show you guys the containers and in their entirety. Again, so this is the new container. Sorry, I had pip. This is my dinner. So this is the new one. It is called My Angel. And this will go right along with the Queen Bee, which looks like this. I actually like these containers. This is the new Nubian gloss, and this is the other new one, Nefertiti. That's that, and then this is the reformulated Limeade. This is the Princess. I don't know if you can see, but it's got the red glitter in it. This is the Sunkiss. This is the Royalty Gloss. This is Lemonade. And it actually does look like lemonade now that it's in here in this jar. And then Snow White. And you see the little blue specks of blue glitter. And then last one is Sunset. So I filled up 16. Well, this is actually 15. One of them got messed up, so I had to throw it away. So this is actually just 15. But this was good, and I got all of them. So the only ones that have just one gloss are these right here. These other two have the other ones have sets of two. But I will be going back either tomorrow or probably next week to get 2 more packs and fill some more up. And these will most likely take the place of the wand tubes. So I won't purchase wand tubes anymore. But I'm not sure exactly how these are gonna sell versus the wand tubes. So I'll probably they'll probably be the same price. And these will be the jars that I get. So but that is that. So anyway, back to the story time. I'm not gonna finish. I don't really have anything else to do. Let me go to the door because I think one of the cats is trying to get in. He's trying to get in. Let's see who it is. Let's see who's trying to get in. Hi, Mama. I didn't know she was outside. Why are you outside? Hi, you want to come in? Okay. And she's stuck. Come on, Mama. Where's your brother? Is the door open? Okay, she can go back. All right, guys. So, yeah. So my mom was pretty much after my grandmother died. I never got a chance to meet my grandmother. I wasn't born until 2 years later. So I never did get a chance to meet her. But so my mom pretty much was, from what was told to me, by my grandfather and my sister, she was pretty much like a loose cannon. She was doing whatever she wanted to do. I mean, well, she was already doing that, but it was like times 10, pretty much. And so when I think about a year maybe, so 1995, she met my dad. And by this time my sister's 15, getting ready to turn 16 in December. And she meets my dad, and her and my dad, they weren't really in a relationship. Well, if you ask my mom, if she was here, if I were to ask my mom, she would say they weren't in a relationship. He was a booty call, so to speak. But if you ask him, he we were in a full blown relationship. Well, but I go with, that they weren't, because she was very adamant that it wasn't a relationship. It was just, for her, something for her to do that resulted in a pregnancy, pretty much. But before I continue, between the 16 years that me and my sister have apart, she had 5 miscarriages within the 16 years. Um, so she only ended up with 2 kids. My sister was the very first child, and I was the very last. Um, so let's fast forward. It's like the end of 1995, or beginning of 1995, and over the middle, I guess you could say. She meets my dad. They spend time together, all this stuff, and then well, honestly, I don't know when they met, and I don't think she remembered either. I might have to ask my dad, but I do know they had to have conceived me in the middle of 1995, so somewhere between or like towards the end, so maybe like August or September maybe, and then by next year in 1996 in May, they had me, and they were not together, and my dad had so because she was still and during this time she was still on drugs. She was still on drugs heavy. But she was still functioning. She would still go to work, things like that. And so she did unfortunately do drugs while she was pregnant with me. And so after in during that time, if you were a drug addict and you were pregnant, then the state of Florida, in the state of Florida, they will take your child and you will go to jail. Um, so she had that to worry about when I was born. And let me see. She had me. She had me at home. She never made it to the hospital. And the story behind that was the day that she had me, or yeah, the day that I was born. She had gone to see a friend of hers, and then she came back, and so she was coming back, and she found this bag in the road, this little small baggie, or in the road, and so she looked at it and she was like, oh, this is real, it's real dope, blah blah. And so she had like a little, she took her pinky and she did like that, put on the gun. She's like, oh, this is real. So she took it home with her, and but she had already said she hadn't been feeling well for the whole day, so she didn't even like, she didn't smoke or anything. So she came home, and my uncle and my grandfather were there, and my sister, and she kicked my uncle out the bedroom so that so she could lay down. She was like, you can go to lay on the couch, da, da, da. So he did. He got up and he went in the living room. She went to sleep, and so about like 3 or 4 hours later, she was asleep, and she just kept feeling these pains, da, da, da. So um she calls my grandfather in the room, and she's like, Dad, I think it's time. I have labor pains, da, da, da. My water's broke. So he freaks out, and he tells my uncle. Well, my uncle freaks out, and he goes and gets my sister. My sister's like, okay, everybody out of the room. I got this. So she pretty much handled everything, and she ended up delivering me. Um, and then the funny part was my uncle. He was there, and he had promised my mom that he would be there, and through the whole labor delivery thing, since it was clear that the ambulance wasn't coming, because my grandfather had already called, and it had already been hours, and it still hadn't gotten there. So but he had promised my mom that he would be there with her. And so then he thought about it, and he kept thinking and thinking and thinking. So he asked my grandfather. He was like, does the police come? Doesn't the police come when doesn't the police come when the ambulance comes? And he was like, yeah, why? And he was like, oh, sorry sis, but I got warrants, I gotta go. And he left. And my mom was crying, and she was like, you said you was gonna be here. And he was just like, I'm gonna be across the street. So he stayed across the street the entire time that the ambulance and the cops were there. mom's looking out from the screen door of the neighbor's screened in porch. And so after that, by the time the ambulance did get there, I was already here, and my sister had cleaned me off, cut the umbilical cord, all of that. Now during this time, my dad was already in prison. He had already gone to prison. He went to prison while my mom was in rehab, and I think he was doing a 4 year stint. I'm not sure. I can't remember how long he was in there when I was born, because I know by the time I was like 5, 6, like that, he was out. So I think it was like maybe like a 4 or 5 year stretch that he had to do. Um, but um, so we spent time in the hospital. Me and my mom spent time in the hospital, and the nurses were from the story that she told me, they were very, very mean to her.